we're back and we're gonna discuss all these issues direct. Sunod, punto per punto na natin. So, kanari, God willing, napalitan na ang pinaka-unpopular na administration, may transition council na tayo. How do we identify, how does the transformation council, transition council, identify people with competence? Okay. Lagay natin isang negosyante. Magaling siya na successful na negosyante. But you and I very well know, success doesn't mean morally correct or spiritually endowed, di ba? It's profit. Business equates into profit. If you don't make profit, you're not successful. There is no such thing as morality when it comes to profit. There are rules of engagement. Agreed. But how do we identify a true leader among the successful businessmen, for example? Or do we choose, surely we can't get a farmer and tell him to lead the country. Surely we can't get an electrician. Pare, ikaw muna magano dyan, handle muna sa LTO. Surely we can't get, let's say, the founders or the builders of these condominium buildings, pare, ikaw na muna dito. Andrew Tan, ikaw muna, humawak ka muna dito. Because they might grab power for themselves. Alam mo naman, you're giving them an opportunity. As they say, many times, it is not the person. It is the office that corrupts them. Di ba parang ganun eh?
Yeah.
How would you control a transition council that is, because they're human, they're volatile, they're vulnerable. Tao lang sila eh. Miski pare eh.
Yeah.
Paano natin gagawin yan?
Well,
Suggestion.
sa akin personally, as we did, we asked everybody to recommend. Recommend mo. Of course, there's nobody perfect, no? Meron sila mga, maski na papano, ang tao may pagkukulang eh. But the people that they are going to recommend are already known in the community. They are accepted as a leader, as a successful this and that. Sa mga farmers, they have a leader. They have a big group there. And we can ask the leader of the farmers group to sit in the council. So it is going to be amongst themselves who will choose. At least we are thinking of a 12 transition personalities who would sit in there.
This will be the most powerful, the 12.
Yeah. They will be under the guidance of the three bishops. Sama-sama na sila, no? Tapos yung ang sinasabi mong hindi sila pwedeng maging corrupt dahil sa merong limited period. And all of them will swear to the fact that they're not in any way going to get into politics right after that. There is a period, yung ang hinahabol natin is the 2016 elections, just to comply with the provision of the Philippine Constitution.
Is that physically possible? One, paano babayaran itong mga tao nito? Hindi ba kailangan bayaran mga yan to be in the transition government? Number two, hindi kaya gusto rin nila agawin ang posisyon because it's only human.
Well, I was one of the guests of the Iranian during the celebration of the downfall of the dynasty in Iran, where they turned over the leadership to a religious leader,
Si
Ayatollah
Khomeini.
Khomeini.
Ang tumakbo yung puppet ng Amerika.
Oo, Ayatollah Khomeini.
So,
they constituted, this is an Iranian experience, they constituted a council that will choose a caretaker government before they went
which
into
still
an
is
election.
still in power today, mind you.
And Ayatollah Khomeini were assisted by the high priest of the imams, of the Muslim, clerics, so to say. And they were able to succeed in choosing a council that resulted in the elections. Because the clerics who are respected and who are not going to grab power, and as you see, Ayatollah never conquered a place. After that, he disappeared. After turning over the reins of the civilian government, he disappeared. So, in the same manner that Archbishop Macarius in Greece also disappeared after, taking over as a caretaker in the Greece
Transition.
turmoil that precipitated a coup d'etat and so forth and so on. So this is not something new. Well, religious leader could be the only solution to what otherwise is a society that envies its other to the top. You know, the enviousness of Filipino leaders is the one that is killing our type of leadership. They envy so much a leader that is successful. So if you see them looking at a leadership that has not coveted any power at all, maybe they will listen.
Pero may tao bang ganyan? May Pilipino bang
Meron
ganyan?
pa rin, meron pa rin.
I mean, ikaw.
Kagaya natin, wala tayong bayad dito. I mean, you know, we're using
No,
our
but
own.
you're independently successful. You come from you're learned. You come from a very fortunate family of politicians and learned people. You've had property. You did not have to pursue industry for purposes of greed to enrich yourself any further. The greed in you has been tempered because you grew up without requiring further greed. It's the same way with Attorney Villegas, coming from illustrious family of leaders, no less General Malvar. Your brother being extremely learned on both sides, just because one is left and one is right does not mean one is more intelligent than the other. These are positions being taken care of. But how do we identify the farmer who seems to want the right thing that is due him and his people? Alam mo, dito sa Pilipinas, we have one flaw, no, when it comes to culture. We have the crab mentality. And yet, when we go abroad, Subic lang eh. We are maintained and controlled. We are regulated. We follow regulations. The minute you drive out of Subic, bastos ka na naman sa kali. Di ba? Dito nagsisimba tayo. Naghahawakan sa Our Father. Di ba? During Mass. Paglabas ng simbahan, nagmumura. Gago ito sa harap ko. Binabarang kotse ko. Loko ito. Bariling ko kaya. Di ba? Parang ganun eh. Where and how do we control the volatility? Because it's been ingrained in our culture. I mean, we talk about corruption, but actually, corruption to a businessman is networking. It's called commissions. Retained commissions, success fee, networking fees. Di ba? Parang ganun. Ako, gumit na sa inyong dalawa, may commission ako. In government, bawal yun eh. Kasi, di ba, you cannot peddle influence. Di ba? Ika nga. And yet in business, corruption is a way of doing business. Correct me if I'm wrong. But how do we identify these people?
Well, precisely,
Iwan natin sa pare.
I lead the Partido ng Manggagawa at Magsasaka. It is the wrong connotation that the Labor Party should be led by laborers. It is those who sympathize with labor.
Who understand.
Like Clement Attlee, Churchill, and so forth, who are not laborers, but they were leaders of the laborites. Now, when you talk of the farmer sector of the Partido ng Manggagawa, I'm talking, for example, of Jerry Montemayor, who is our vice president for the farming group.
So you've identified people na.
Yes.
You've gone that far
Yes,
already.
yes.
Meron na nga,
And of course, labor, we have Herrera, who I think would serve well to protect the interests of labor, because he heads the biggest federations in the country, which is the Trade Union Congress of the Philippines, and so forth and so on. So these are people that you can be very sure will protect their sector.
So in other words, you've already identified
Yes.
competence,
Yes.
you've identified integrity.
Yes.
Not necessarily all the way, but at least for a start, for the
Yes.
transition government to step into.
Ang masama sa ating kultura na ngayon, dahil sa talamak na corruption from the beginning, ang tao ngayon ay puro kwarta eh. Pera, 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 pera. That's the kagaya ng hindi boboto kung hindi mong bigyan ng pera.
Ganun nga sa probinsya.
Bakit mo ginagawa yan? Alam mo naman na 6 years yan na maghihirap ka. Ang sagot mabuti na ito kaysa sa wala.
Correct.
That is why the politicians sometimes are accused to put this country into that level na kulang ang edukasyon, kulang ang asenso, so that when the time comes for them to run for a position, kaya katakot-takot ang nakaw eh. Alam nila na pwede nilang bilhin bawat isa eh. Dapat umahon na tayo doon sa sitwasyon na ganon. So, yun ang naging problema rito, lalo na wala nang hustisya sa atin. So, saan ka pupunta? Kaya ang tao, mabuti na ito, boss, 1,000 piso.
Oh, yun na nga eh.
Oo. Tanggapin mo, yan ang sinasabi natin. Tanggapin mo, pero iboto mo yung gusto mo. Pero hindi, papatayin ka eh. Kagaya ng mga barangay captain, bibigyan ng tigda 200,000 piso. Kailangan lumabas ako sa barangay mo.
Kundi titirahin kita.
No, talagang patay ka. Papatay ka talaga. So, nasa na hustisya. So, nandoon yun eh. Palagay ko talagang consistent education. Sabi nila, paano mananalo yung movement against dynasty? That's why we're trying to educate still everybody. To show them, to tell them the evils of all of this. Yun lang paraan eh.
Well said. Ladies and gentlemen, we're at the end of the show, but I'd like to give you an exit message. What message would you like to give to the President and the Filipino people all in one? Should they be watching you right now? Let's start with Attorney Jose Villegas.
Well,
A 1-minute message.
Yes, our main problem, aside from dynasty, is criminality because of the corruption. And many were asking me, why is CCW leading the assault against the government? It's simple because we perceive the government to have now become the biggest criminal syndicate. And we need Citizens Crime Watch to fight the syndicate. You were talking about Subic having reform in the early 90s. And that was the time when I was vice chairman of the Basis Conversion Development Authority. I was the one, as chairman of the Citizens Crime Watch, who introduced the reform at Subic, so much so that people were following the law. So you need leadership by example. And precisely that's why, and you were telling that Ting and myself have nothing more to aspire for but to protect the legacy of our family. And that's exactly what we are here for.
Very well said. Ting, your message.
Yes, ako, mga kababayan, itong aming laban na ito ay binibigyan namin hanggang elections 2016. Kaya kami ay puspusang nakikiusap. Wala na kaming ibang paraan upang labanan ang political dynasty na alam na nating lahat kung ano ang kasamaan nito na idudulot sa bansa. Kaya kung sana magsama-sama tayo. Ngayon po ay nasa Kongreso na yung panukalang batas to prohibit political dynasty. At pangalawa ho, natapos na sa Senador Coco Pimentel sa Senado ang enabling law about prohibiting the political dynasties. Kung pwede ho sa ngayon pa lang ay pagsama-sama na nating pakiusapan na ang mga mambabatas at ang mga senador na pumirmahan at ipasa na ito. At kung hindi man po, mga kababayan, iisa na lang ang pagkakataon na ating supilin ang political dynasty sa bansa. Ito lang po yung pagkadating ng halalan, ang sandata ninyo para labanan ang political dynasties, na alam ko ayaw nyo naman, ay huwag kayong gumamit ng dahas kung hindi ballpen lamang. Isa lang ang iboto nyo, kada angkan para sa bayan. Tandaan nyo lang ho, isa lang. Kung 5 ang kapilido ko San Diego ang kandidato, isa lang po ang ipusulat nyo at ibigay nyo na sa ibang kababayan ang ibang pagkakataon kasi nasa konstitusyon din ho yun. Pagbigyan lahat ng tao ng pagkakataong pagsilbi sa gobyerno. Maraming salamat.
Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. I guess now the rest is up to you. The problem is you and I cannot get along. We all hate the same thing. We all hate the same president. We all hate corruption. We seem to want the same things and dislike the very same things. And then when we have to live together in the same house, we kick each other out. What a tragedy. Well, either you live with this tragedy and extend it to kingdom come, which we have done since the birth of the Republic, or you stand up side by side, proud, calling yourself under one flag. Not the Yellow Army, not the Yellow Country, but the Republic of the Philippines. Maraming salamat po.
You are what you watch.